Hi, everybody. Welcome to the live tonight. Let me know if you can hear me in the comments below. Please put your name and the city and state you're watching from. Let me know. Say hello. I'd love to say hello back. I am excited about today's live, guys, because today I'm going to be talking about the most affordable adoption option. Now, we know that adoption can be costly. When you think of adoption, usually, when most people think of adoption, they automatically think newborn adoption, right? They think, oh my gosh, adoption is so expensive. And why is that? Why do people automatically think that adoption is expensive? Well, that's because in the adoption world, newborn adoption has become like an entire industry, so much so that when people even hear the name, like the term adoption, they automatically think of newborn adoption. And not many people actually know that there are so many different types of adoptions. There are relative adoptions. We also call them kinship adoptions. There are step parent adoptions that I do a ton of in my law office. There are foster care adoptions. There are obviously international adoptions. There are so many different types of adoptions. But for some reason, in the adoption world, when you hear that word adoption, people automatically think newborn. Why is that? Why is that what people think about the most? So, today I want to talk to you guys about the most affordable adoption option and why so many families struggle to adopt and maybe spin their wheels for years trying to figure out kind of how to go through the process. And I'm probably going to challenge a lot of you in today's live. And I may offend some of you by some of the things that I say, but I think it's necessary to talk through these things because we really have to get the root at what we're actually really wanting, right? Are we wanting to have a baby or are we wanting to grow a family through adoption? I think those are two different questions to ask. And so, in my experience as an adoption lawyer, what I have found after being in this field for almost a decade is that most families that come to adoption is because they honestly just want a baby because they couldn't have their own baby. Okay. We're diving right in today, guys. We're just gonna go straight to the gutter, to the gut. Most people that want to adopt, I would say 90% of the families that want to adopt is because they couldn't have a baby and so they want to adopt one. And I want to challenge that tonight. Okay. Because I want to give you guys actually a couple of examples before I kind of get into more of what I want to talk about tonight. I saw a post in one of the Facebook groups today, actually, the adoption Facebook groups, and somebody posted and they said, I have about $1,500. I think that's what I said. They said, I have about $1,500. I'm ready to adopt. I can't, that's my desire. I don't have much more than that. And so if anybody is willing to, give up their child for adoption, I can meet you anywhere and this is what I can afford. I'm a great person for adoption or something like that. That's kind of how the post went. And when I saw the post, I actually commented back and I said, adoption is not a business transaction. I'm not sure what you're looking for in here. Like you like telling me your price. You're telling me like you can meet me somewhere so I can drop off a kid to you for $1,500. What's going on, right? But that was in a Facebook group, an adoption Facebook group today. And I just thought, wow, that's just so interesting. And I've had numerous families actually tell me this, like, hey, I have about $2,000 to adopt, or I can't afford $10,000 or $20,000 or $45,000, but I still want a baby. So, how do I get a baby for $1,500? That's basically the question that families are asking, right? I'm not able to give you 45,000 because I don't have that money. I can give you about 5,000. So, will you accept that price? Kind of like it's just like this financial exchange. And I want to challenge that today. Because as much as adoption is going to require money, just like anything else in life, you need to pay a professional and do it legally. There's legal fees and all of that. As much as it's going to cost you money, I want to challenge our mindsets about the way we even think about it and the way we approach it. So, my first question is, do we want are you wanting to adopt a baby, or are you wanting to grow your family? I said that earlier, but I think that maybe we don't spend enough time talking about this and really getting at and actually answering this question. Are we just wanting a baby, or are we wanting to grow a family and be a parent? I know it may seem like, what do you mean? It's yes to both. Yeah, I want to grow my family. I want to be a parent, but I also want a baby. I would challenge that. Honestly, I would, because if the question to I just want to be a parent and grow my family is yes, I just want to be a parent, then why not seriously consider adopting an older child? Why is that such um like a barrier, or something that families never even consider or think that they can handle? Why is that? So, on the one hand, when you look at newborn adoption, most people complain about the price and the cost and feel like they're buying a child, right? Maybe let me know in the comments below. Have you ever thought that, oh my gosh, it's $45,000, $50,000? I feel like I'm buying a baby, even though everybody's telling me that I'm not, right? It feels that way because you're spending so much money to maybe not even adopt a baby, right? You may not end up with a baby, but you still have to pay the money. Feels like you're buying a baby. Trace says yes. Yes, it does. No matter how much you try to feel like it doesn't feel like it does, because that's a lot of money that you're spending, right? You're like, gosh, is this going to go towards their college tuition or something? Okay, so on the one hand, we have newborn adoption that we all know costs a lot of money, and everybody and their mom complains about the cost of newborn adoption. Yet, 90% of families want a baby, even though they're complaining about the price. Why is that? So why are we so like stuck and focused on adopting a baby when we don't want to spend the money for it? I'm honestly, I would really love to know why. Why is that? Why do I want to adopt a baby so badly that I'm willing to spend 45,000? I'm going to complain all the way about it, and I'm going to be upset that I have to spend all this money, that nobody can guarantee me a baby, but that's what I want anyway, even though it may not happen for 4 years, right? So you have that. And then you have adopting from foster care, which is the most affordable adoption option. Like, you barely spend 500 bucks for adopting from foster care. So when you start approaching the topic of adapting from foster care, and I'm not talking about foster to adopt, I'm talking about you're adopting a child who's already ready to be adopted from foster care. As soon as we start talking about adoption from foster care, do you know what happens? Everybody starts running away. At least people that I've talked to. Most families, I should say, start running away. Like, yeah, I know this is not going to cost me a lot of money. I'm complaining that I have to spend so much money on a baby, but I don't want to consider the option that's actually the most affordable. What's going on here? What is going on here? If the issue with adoption is really the money, then why isn't everybody adopting from foster care? What is the issue really? I would propose that the issue is that people just want babies, period. And maybe families don't really want to just be parents, they really just want a baby. If you just want to be a parent, it doesn't matter if you have a 4-year old, a 5-year old, a 17-year old, a 16-year old. It doesn't matter. You're going to be a parent either way, whether you have experience as a parent or not. It doesn't matter. Once that child comes in your home, you will learn very quickly how to parent, right? Imagine with me for an example that you are an auntie and your sister or your brother, God forbid, are abusing their kids or whatever. And now you have to take care of your nieces and nephews. Okay. Maybe your sibling is living in another state. And so maybe you never had a relationship with your niece or nephews. Maybe you talked to them on the phone a few times, saw them once a year for Christmas or Thanksgiving or whatever. All of a sudden now they have to come live with you. Or maybe your sibling died, God forbid, and you're now the only relative, like you need to take these kids in. What would you do? Of course, you would take in your nieces and nephews, and you will learn very quickly how to parent. Why? Like, why in that situation does their age not matter? Because the only thing that matters is that point is for that child to have a home. I don't want that kid to end up on the street And so I'm just going to take him in and I'm going to learn how to raise this child, whether they're 5 or 9 or 15. We will figure this out because there's no other option, right? So for people who say adoption is so expensive, I challenge that thought process and that those commentaries that people say all the time. And I want to say, I think really you just want a baby, even if it's going to literally cost you a second mortgage on your house. I think it's just that you want a baby. Okay. If you want a parent, there are literally 100,000 children who need you that you could adopt within the next 12 months. That's how, I mean, I don't want to say it's easy to adopt from foster care. Of course, you have to go through paperwork and all of that stuff. But I mean, like, it's actually guaranteed though. So, foster care adoption, it's the most affordable option. You maybe have to pay 500 bucks, maybe. Okay? Um you're guaranteed to adopt because there's literally 100,000 children waiting for you to take him in. So it's not like you're going to spend 45,000 and then maybe have a baby or not. You're barely spending any money and you know for sure you're going to adopt a child. I mean that it's like a guarantee. So you have what people usually say, right? People usually say, I don't want to spend a lot of money. You don't do that with foster care adoption, right? I want to guarantee that I'm going to have this baby if I spend money. Well, in foster care, you're guaranteed you're going to have that child. Of course, they're going to match you and all of that stuff. And as you go through different matching processes, if you do match with a child, then you get to adopt the child after you go through the whole process, okay? So you look at foster care adoption and all the things that people complain about is basically obsolete when it comes to adoption from foster care. Yet, maybe 2% of the population chooses adoption from foster care. I cannot understand that. Because for me, looking from the outside in, I'm looking at the two options and I'm thinking, why isn't it flipped? Right? You would think that 90% of families would be pursuing adoption from foster care if money was really the problem and if not having any guarantees was really the problem and if they really just wanted a family. 90% of families would be pursuing adoption from foster care. So I told you I might offend some of you guys today, but that's okay because I think this needs to be talked about in the adoption world. And I want to challenge those of you who came to the adoption world with, I couldn't have a baby, and so now I want one. I want to challenge you. Not because I think it's wrong to desire to have a baby. We all desire to, this is the way God made us, right? As humans, is to produce and to raise a child from infancy. So this is not a wrong desire to have a baby. Absolutely not. It's a beautiful desire. And God has placed that in us, especially as moms, to nurture and mother a child from infancy. Absolutely. So I am not saying that adopting a newborn is wrong. Not at all. What I am saying is that pursuing an option that you complain about the cost, you complain about, I'm like buying a baby, you complain about how there's no guarantee because nobody can guarantee you that mom is not going to change her mind. There's all of these things that are working against you. Yet, most families still choose it, but they just complain about it the whole time. When here, money's not the issue, you're pretty much guaranteed to have a child and you get to parent, which is all that your families usually say that they want, right? So I'm seeing a lot of comments here. Okay, so let me take a moment and look at what you guys are saying. I love how much you guys are talking. Royal Fam said, not much more than birthing a child in the US. Trish says, I want to adopt so bad from foster care. Oh, Trish, that's amazing. I love your heart. Royal Fam says, Michigan pays for the cost. We got our money back. Yes, they do. Every state pays for the cost of adopting from foster care. Um, Mocha Sweet said, I want to adopt from foster care, but I can't get one. Okay, we can talk about that. And Trish says, I don't even know what you need to adopt from foster care, or I would. Oh, Trish, that's what I specialize in. I can show you exactly what you need to do. And Reina Neal says, can I ask you opinion about those Facebook groups? Are these groups for expecting moms to find adoptive parents? That's a great question. And then Royal said, the baby also when healing fertility trauma. Absolutely. Absolutely. Man, you guys are having so many good comments on here. Rena, for the Facebook groups, no, there's a ton of adoption Facebook groups out there. Some of them, a lot of adoptive parents just go in and they just like post their profiles, hoping that a birth mom would find them and choose them. In other Facebook groups, it seems like people just like to ask questions and just to get some answers, and there's nothing wrong with that, if you're just asking your community or people that maybe have gone through the process to their opinion about whatever, which is fine. But sometimes some comments come up on in those Facebook groups that I'm like, I just I don't know what to say. Like, it's so ignorant that it's like insulting. Some of the comments, like, really, you just told me you have $1,500 and you'll meet somebody somewhere so they can exchange a child with you. Like, what? They should flag this person. This sounds like some type of human trafficking something to me. Whitney says, I have been with my fiance for 10 years now. We share two children together. We both very much want to foster to adopt, but are concerned about not being married. Is that an issue? Whitney, I'll answer that to you. Yeah, okay. So the most affordable adoption option, you guys, is adapting from foster care. Okay, so I want to talk to you guys now about what usually comes up for people and why families do not choose adapting from foster care, even though it's literally the most affordable option and you're guaranteed to adopt. Okay, this is actually like the most common sense way that anybody should adapt is through foster care. If money is really the issue, then you should adapt from foster care. Like, it's just that simple. But these are the reasons that I have found that families don't go for adoption from foster care. First thing, the kids are too traumatized. That's the lie that a lot of families believe. And that's been just advertised out there by foster care stories and things in Facebook groups and people's negative experiences and yada, yada, yada. And one of the things that I don't know if you guys know this, but usually people that have had a bad experience are the most vocal. So it's really, really important to be careful. Like, when you're in a Facebook group or Instagram or whatever, and all you hear is negative, there's probably 100 more positive stories that just don't go like vomited out on social media. It's usually people that have a problem with someone that go vomited on social media. And so it seems when you read these stories about foster care that, oh my gosh, this must be 100% of like adoption from foster care stories. The kids are so traumatized. It's so hard to go through the system and blah, 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 and yada, 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 yada. So, even though the system can be complicated, okay, I worked in foster care as an attorney for years, and now I help families adapt through foster care. I'm not going to lie to you, there's a lot of red tape. That is true. But there is a way for you to walk through the process where you don't have to go through all the craziness and the red tape of foster care. It's just that people don't know how to go about the process. And so they just assume that it's going to be too hard. Also, the states also just make it really hard for families to adapt from foster care because they mainly want to recruit foster families. Yes, they say, "Oh my gosh, we have so many children waiting to adopt the kids." But if you call your state right now, I guarantee they'll tell you, "Oh, sorry, we really can't help you adopt. We can only help you foster." A majority of the states do that. So on the one hand, they're like, crying wolf about how many families are languishing in foster care and how we need families to adopt these kids. On the other hand, when families are like, "Oh my gosh, I want to adopt a kid from foster care," they call their state. They're like, "Hey, what should we do?" The state goes, "Oh, so sorry, we can't help you, but we need you to be a foster parent. Will you foster?" That happens more often than you would think. So, this is what actually discourages people from going through the process because even families who do have a heart to adapt from foster care, when they start the process, they realize really quickly that, oh my gosh, like, I don't know why this is so hard. I've talked to families who have been in, like, they started the adoption process through foster care, and 3 years later, they're still sitting with the agency with no placement for adoption. Okay. There's a really simple answer for that. It's just because the families don't know how to navigate through the system to make sure that they're on the trajectory to adapt from foster care. So, a quick example is that one of my clients, they actually were from Illinois. And when they signed up with their agency, they always had a heart to adopt from foster care. They wanted to help. They knew that they were waiting kids in foster care. And her husband were like, "This is what we want to do. We want to adopt a child from foster care and give him a home." So they signed up with an agency in Illinois and they said, "This is what we want to do. We want to adopt." So the agency said, "Sure, we will place children with you that, maybe um, the children's parents' rights are like about to be terminated or something, so there's more of a chance for you to adopt." So they said, "Sure," because they didn't know any different. And so they were placed with a foster child that they actually fostered for about 2 years, but they kept calling their agency like, hey, we're fine fostering. We love this boy, but we still want to adopt. We don't want to just foster. So can you place us with kids where we can, like, there's most likely to adopt them? And the agency was like, oh, well, there's not really any children, that you can adopt right now. We don't have a lot of them. So just keep fostering and just kind of push them off to the side. So they got so frustrated after 2 years of this. They finally got so frustrated that they found me online in the adoption program that I offer. They started working with me. And within 3 months, they fired their agency. They stopped working with them. They found another agency that placed a child in their care within like 3 months of them signing with them that they are now adopting. That is the power of knowing how to walk through the process. If you don't know how to walk through the process, you would literally sit with your agency for years, especially if you want to adopt from foster care. Because adopting from foster care is just a little different when you're dealing with the state and wards of the state than when you're doing a private adoption. Okay. And so let's see. What about when people decide to call DCFS on you and they come and open a case and stuff like that to make sure your kid is all right? Yeah, people do that stuff all the time, Trish, and it's very frustrating. But I've actually heard a lot of stories where their biological families, just because they were mad at DHHS, they were mad that they're not able to parent, they just call CPS on you for no reason. Sometimes it's just to kind of see how you're going to respond, right? If you're going to be like so upset that you start cussing at them or whatever and saying, take the kid out of my home, or they just want to get a reaction out of you. And, the best way, and there have been very, very good foster parents who have been called on by their foster children and also from the biological family. And the best way to walk that out is to just let the investigation take its course and just let it be what it is. So if that happens, as long as everything is clear and they don't find anything, you can still adopt from foster care. So that was a great question. Let's see. That AI show can immigrant people adopt if they're working in the USA? Well, you have to be a resident of the United States to adopt. Okay. So if you are not a US resident, you cannot legally adopt in the United States. I hope that answered your question. Um, I wonder what happened that we ended up adopting 2 kids in 1 year. Yes, Roel, that's right. So Roel is saying that they ended up adopting 2 kids in 1 year. So again, you've got families who are wanting to adopt a baby who are waiting 4 years, spending thousands of dollars, and they have no child. At the end of the day, they're still without any children. But then you have like the Roel family, for example, who have adopted 2 children from foster care within 1 year. So again, my question remains, do you just want a baby or do you want to parent? Again, if you want to parent, there are different avenues for you to parent a child. The the truth, you guys, is that if you really want to be a parent and you want to grow your family, there are so many opportunities for you to be a parent, to just be a mom and a dad to a child. And if you are so stuck on the age, like it has to be a baby, it's going to cripple you for years. I want to exhort you to open up the possibilities of you being a parent and really answer this question for yourself. Am I just like, I have to have a baby, even if it cost me everything, right? You have to eventually get to the bottom of like, why is it so important to you to adopt a baby and why you can't just adopt an older child or siblings from foster care? Like, what is it that's stopping you? All right. Other objections that I've heard about adopting from foster care, besides the whole trauma situation, just all these bad stories you hear, is families sometimes don't feel adequate as parents because, especially first time parents, like, I've never had a child, and so they feel like they would be a better parent maybe if they started from baby stage and then all the way up. And they just don't feel like they can parent an older child. And I also want to tell you that that is absolutely false. It's just not true. It's just not true. I gave you the example earlier about if you were an uncle or an auntie and God forbid your sibling died and you had to take in your nieces and nephews, you would not be like, oh no, I'm so sorry. They have to be 0. They have to be like 11 months. I can't learn how to parent this ages right now. No, you would do it because you have to. And so, in the same way, if growing your family is that important and you want to be a parent, and you can see the pros and cons between the two choices, what makes more sense, right? If really growing your family is the goal, then it makes sense to consider adapting from foster care. I want to say something else about adapting from foster care. Okay. Again, trauma is something that people get hung up on a lot. They say the children have so many behaviors, they're so traumatized. They're going to have so many bad behaviors. I'm not going to know how to control them. How is that going to affect my children? Blah, blah, blah. Well, the thing that people forget when they start making that argument about adapting from foster care is that adapting a newborn, you're also inviting trauma. Just because the newborn can't tell you that they're traumatized or they're not exhibiting behaviors that show trauma doesn't mean that the baby's not traumatized. There's so much research now that even shows that babies that are placed for adoption as a baby are traumatized, and the behaviors eventually show up later in life. More and more people are learning about this and being more educated. So it is not true that if you adopt a baby, you're going to skip the trauma, because that's what a lot of people think. I'm just going to skip the trauma if I get them as a baby because I can mold and shape them. It is not true, guys. It's a lie. It's a lie. If you adopt a newborn, you're still going to have to go through the trauma stuff, because your child is going to need healing from being adopted, regardless of whether they're 0 or 16. It's just, you cannot run from the trauma of adoption, whether it's a baby or it's an older child. So that is a lie that people believe that keeps them from adopting older children. Okay. The other thing about adopting from foster care is that I think that's one of the benefits actually of adopting from foster care is that you get to know your child's entire history before you adopt them. It's not like adopting a newborn, you get what you get. And then as they grow up, whatever you get is what you get. You don't get to nobody can predict what their trauma is going to look like behaviors wise. You're just going to have to navigate through it as it happens. But when you adopt from foster care, you get to see your child's file. You know what happened to them, how long they've been in foster care, all the behaviors that they've had. You get to know everything about that child before you ever say yes. So you can be the most prepared possible. It's actually the best case scenario because you get this child, you're like, okay, I know that they've dealt with this. I know they've dealt with that. I know that they're going to therapy for this. And so I can be prepared when they come in my home. I can know what to expect. So you're not going into it totally blinded. Same thing with international adoption. When you're adopting a child from another country, you get to know that child's history. So it's actually a benefit. It's a pro because you're not just getting a child and then not knowing what's going to happen. You know what you're getting, and you can be as prepared as possible for that child, okay? And be the best parent that you can be. So, the most affordable adoption option, you guys, is actually the most overlooked adoption option in the entire of the United States, you guys. Like, I've been doing this for almost a decade, and I'm telling you, like 90 to 95% of families who want to adopt a baby. Maybe 5% want to adopt from foster care. I think it is absolutely insane with how many children are waiting to be adopted from foster care. It doesn't make any sense. And I think my mission is to flip that percentage so that 90% of families in America who want to adopt are seriously looking into adopting from foster care, and only 5% are looking into adopting a newborn. And so, as I teach you guys on YouTube and then as I teach on Facebook, my heart and my passion is for as many children waiting for families in foster care as possible to be in homes. And you guys have that heart, you guys have that passion. You know, family and friends who want to be a parent, look into adopting from foster care. Don't just dismiss it. Don't just dismiss it. Actually, really think about it, and think about what I just said and all the objections that people come up with. Oh, this and that and this and that. And these are the 5 reasons why I can't do adopting from foster care. I just told you guys all of it. And all of it is not true. It's just not true. It's just not true. So, my prayer is that more and more families adopt from foster care and less adopt to newborns, because honestly, this whole newborn adoption thing is just becoming more and more cringe. I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but it's just like the idea of paying that much money to maybe adopt a baby is just like, why? What, yes, babies are cute and it's great to start your family that way, but you don't have to, right? You have other options that are way more affordable, and kids that actually want a home. Like they're like, please adopt me. I want to be in a family, you know? So, um, Trish says, I don't even know how to get started. Oh yeah, Trish, you said that. So yes, I'm gonna talk about that now. So I'm gonna put up Trish's comment. She said, I don't even know how to get started on adopting from foster care. All right. So if you guys don't know, I'm hosting a 5-day Christian family adoption boot camp. We start on Monday. Okay. So there's only four. I was doing five. There's only 4 days left for you guys to save your spot in the boot camp. Okay. In this boot camp, we're going to go from world do I adoption to actually having the actionable tools, the knowledge, and everything that you need to start your adoption journey confidently. This is what I specialize in. Okay. And so I would love to see you in the boot camp so we can talk about the right first step that you need to take for any type of adoption. It doesn't matter if you're thinking international, foster care, newborn, whatever. In the boot camp, I'm going to show you the first step you need to take. It doesn't matter where you are. If you don't take this right first step, I can almost guarantee that you will lose a lot of money and a lot of time. Okay. And this is, again, from my experience as an adoption lawyer, helping hundreds of families adopt and also guiding families through the adoption process for almost a decade. Okay. So I want you, Trish, I want to invite you to join the boot camp, and everybody else on here. Join the boot camp. It's called the Christian Family Adoption Boot Camp. And I'm actually going to put the link in the chat right now. Let me pull it up really quick. And you can go save your spot in the boot camp. It's going to be an amazing time. I'm so excited to serve you guys. And for those of you who are like, man, my heart is burning for adopting from foster care, this is my passion, is to help you navigate through that so that more children can find homes that are waiting for families. So I just have a special place in my heart for families who want to adopt from foster care. So I'm going to put this in the chat. Save your spot in the boot camp. So registration is going to close on Sunday. So make sure you get your spot today. We're going to start on Monday. I'm so excited. We're going to go for a whole 5 days. And man, you are going to have the time of your life. I'm so excited. So save your spot, Trish, and get in the boot camp. And let's say Cool Bree says, just started my journey based on your videos. Oh, that's amazing. Oh my gosh, I love seeing that. Cool Bree says, just started my journey based on your videos, just finished the classes. Oh, you guys are my favorite people. All of you guys who are like being serious about adopting children from foster care, you're my favorite people. So my husband and I are foster parents right now, and the goal is adoption. But even after when I worked in juvenile court for so many years, I got to represent the parents who had allegedly abused or neglected their children. I also got to be the guardian ad litem for the children in foster care and also represent juveniles, these teenagers who were just acting a fool. So I got to see how foster care works by being so involved. And guys, I'm telling you, these kids, I fell in love more with the foster children when I started working in foster care. And so when I hear so many negative comments from people about foster care, it really breaks my heart, because at the core, what I have seen in my experience is that these are just children who are trying to cope with what's happened to them, right? And for almost every single adoption from foster care story that I've heard from families who really had a heart to adopt and they understood trauma and they wanted to just be a place for the children to heal and to grow. Almost every single one of those children were able to heal from their trauma and grow up to be amazing human beings in society. Okay. That doesn't mean that we are their only healing place. We credit that to Jesus because only God can heal trauma. But just the availability to be like, I'm going to open my home and I'm just going to be a safe place for this child does more to a child's heart than I think most people can comprehend. And so just you saying I'm available and I want to help, yes, it may be difficult at times because adoption is just difficult in general. But when you stay the course, just like being a parent, right? When you have your own biological child, it's not like perfect and it's not roses either. You have issues with your children and you have things you have to work through as the years go by and all of those kinds of things. I kind of see that as the same way with children in foster care, they come from hard places, and we have to kind of meet them where they're at and really understand where they came from. But they're just children. They're children, and they just happen to have experienced some extremely traumatic things. And that way, it's how to help them work through that and heal from that. That's the way I see it. And I believe anybody who's been through foster care, who's been traumatized, can heal, because I've heard too many stories not to believe it. And we're walking that out with our foster kiddos right now. And I could already tell you, like, our foster kids have literally, they're different children. They've been with us for almost a year, and it's not a credit to us. It's, we were willing to just be a safe place. We were willing to be to learn about trauma. We were willing to say we're not scared of anything. They're children, and this is the only way they can communicate the pain that they experience. And so we get to now be the adults who understand that and help them work through that so that they can heal. I think it's an amazing privilege, honestly, to adopt children in foster care and to be that safe place for them. Rachel says, I've learned so much from you. Thank you so much. My husband and I have been respite foster parents. Yes, Rachel. So proud of you. And all of you here. Oh, you guys have just made my night with all of your comments. So, guys, hey, I want to invite you again. Go and save your spot in the boot camp. Oh, I can't sign up. I don't have it to sign up, but I would love to know more. Oh, okay. Yeah. So just go to the website and you can sign up. I don't know if you can see it on YouTube. I think it's in the description box for the video, Trish, but it's also in the comments. But anyway, yeah. So I want to invite you guys to sign up for the 5-day bootcamp starting next Monday, this upcoming Monday. I'm so excited. And I'll see all of you guys there. But until then, guys, I want to encourage you to really, really look into foster care. Don't let people, the naysayers, tell you, don't do it. It's going to be so hard and blah, 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 blah. If you know that the Lord has put this on your heart, just go for it. And I'd love to help you along the way if that's what you need. All right. So thank you guys for being on here tonight. And Whitney has a question. Yes, Whitney. Answer the marriage question. Okay, let me go back. What was the marriage question, Whitney? Let me see if I can find it, Whitney. Or if you don't mind putting it down here again. Oh, I have been with my fiance for 10 years now. We share 2 children together. Both of our concerned about being married. For adoption, okay, so this I think this is state specific, but pretty much from my understanding, every state, if you are married, you have to adopt together as a married couple. But if you are single or just engaged, right? You're not married yet, you can adopt as a single person. And so if you guys want to adopt the kids, you're going to have to decide if you're just going to get married so you can adopt them together, or only one of you can adopt them. I'm pretty sure that's the rule across all states. So you can foster. You don't have to be married to foster, but if you want to adopt with your fiance, then you guys have to be married. Otherwise, you can just adopt by yourself as a single lady. Okay? Does that make sense, Whitney? I hope that helped. Okay, and then what was the other question? I want to adopt from foster. I'm hoping for age range of 0 to 7. Is that a reasonable age range? That's Crystal's question. Well, 0 is not likely when you're adopting from foster care, just because most of the children that are waiting to be adopted are older children, because they've already gone through the whole process of their parents being given time by the court to get their act together. And so by the time the children are available to adoption, they're usually a little bit older. So if a newborn, for example, ends up in foster care, probably 3 or 4 years will go by before they're ever available to adopt. We're kind of having that same situation right now with our foster kiddos. My foster son has been in foster care since he was 6 months. He's now 4. And my foster daughter has been in foster care since she was born. She's 3. And we still don't have an adoption hearing yet. The mom's rights have not been terminated, even though she hasn't seen the kids for 2 years, so it's a very, very slow progress. And so it is not likely that you'd be able to adopt a baby from foster care, just because they have to go through the process of Are the parents going to get the kids back or not? Are their rights going to be terminated or not? And once you get through that whole process, if they do become available for adoption, that's when you can adopt them. This is why you see that most of the kids available are older. Okay. So a reasonable age range, I would think would be more like 5 and up. 5 years old would mean that if the child came into foster care as a newborn, I would say 4 to 5 and older. But I would say 4 to 5 would probably be the youngest you'll find, just like our foster kids. They've been in foster care their whole lives, yet my foster son is almost 5. He'll be 5 in May, and he's still in foster care. So I would say 5 and up would be a more reasonable age range to adopt from foster care. Cool Bree says, when in adoption, do you find both parties to be equally committed to the journey? That's a good question. Or does one person lead the charge more than the other? Well, I mean, I guess it depends on if you're married or not. If you're married, you definitely want to be on the same page because you're doing this together, you know? If you're not together as a married couple, it's going to be very difficult to adopt. I mean, almost impossible because adoption is something that, I mean, it'll change your life. Adoption will change your life. Just like having your own, like birthing a baby would change your life. It will change your life. And so you both have to be on board with that. Now, if you're dating somebody or you're a fiance and you want them to be a part of it, again, it's like I said earlier, adoption is different than when you're just fostering. You can decide as a single person or as somebody who's engaged to foster. But if you're engaged and you're going to get married soon, it's probably better to get on the same page with your fiance to make sure that you guys are really doing this together, you know? And so I think when it comes to adoption, both of you, not that one needs to lead the charge or other, but you guys do need to be equally committed to the journey. If you're not equally committed, it's going to fall apart. It just is because the responsibility that it takes is going to need the both of you to be together. Because when one of you is exhausted emotionally and you need a break, then you have the other adult that's like, okay, I can take over. So you need to be able to rely on each other. But if both of you are exhausted and you don't want to do it, then who's going to be doing the hard work? And so it's definitely a give and take, and it's something you have to do together. How accurate is the state photo list? It depends. Usually you want to call the caseworker that is like attached to the child and just find out. Some of the photo lists, I find that they'll let you know if that child is already in the process of being adopted. I saw a couple of states that do that. They'll still keep the picture of the child, but they'll say um like in the process of adoption, because sometimes they can start the process of adoption and then it doesn't work out. And so I think that's why they don't take the child's picture off completely and they wait to see if it actually goes through. Then if it goes through, they take the child's picture off. But I would say if the child's picture is on there and there's nothing that says that they're in the process of being adopted right now, I think it's usually pretty accurate. But you always want to call the caseworker or email the person, the contact for that child, and just make sure before you move forward. Trish, I got a question. So I homeschool my son. Can you homeschool the kid from foster care? Yeah, if you want to homeschool, you can. But the state pays for daycare and childcare. And so if you find that to be a lot for you to homeschool both of them, you can always use daycare. But yeah, I mean, there's nothing that stops you from homeschooling a foster child. You're not required to send them to school. Um, and I mean, you can even be a stay at home mom for your foster kids. They don't have to go to daycare, just like you would for your own biological child. All right, man, these are like so many good questions, you guys. Do you guys have any other questions? Any other questions? Let me know. Oh, Veronica had a question here. Let me pull it up. Veronica said, what about for military family and international adoptions? Military families. So I actually just found out about this organization, Veronica, like if you are stationed outside of the United States because of military reasons, there's an organization that actually helps you with the adoption process in the United States. I cannot think of their name off the top of my head right. Actually, I think I have it up here. Let me see. No, I don't have it. Sorry. But there's an organization that does that. They specialize in helping US citizens who are living abroad. They help them adapt from the United States. So I think that's really amazing. I think hopefully I'll be able to get them as a guest on my social here in the next couple of months so they can tell you more about what they do. Because I know there's a lot of families who are stationed outside of the US, or they, happen to be living there because of work, business, or whatever, and they still have a heart to adopt. They don't want to wait 5 years to start it. And so this organization is doing great work. So again, I hope to have him on and you guys could ask him all the questions about being abroad and doing adoptions. But as far as international adoptions is concerned, you have to go through an agency that is accredited to do international adoptions. Okay, so foster care doesn't really work for international adoptions. International adoptions is when you're adopting an orphan from another country. And so whatever that country deems for those children to be orphans, that's who you're adopting. You may be adopting from their foster care system, but usually the agency here in the United States, they have a relationship with an orphanage in that country or several orphanages, where they know if a child is actually an orphan or not, and they can help you with the process of adoption. And I'm not sure, what was your specific question about the military family? Are you asking if military families can adopt? If that's the question, then yes. Military families can definitely adopt. And the military also gives grants for adoptions. A lot of people don't know about that, which is really cool. Whitney says, is the bootcamp a good fit for those of us interested in fostering to adopt? Mm, the bootcamp is for Christian families who know that God has called them to adoption. They're unsure about where to start and they feel stuck in figuring out, like, how do I go about doing this and how do I get started? So the bootcamp is designed to really show you the right first step you need to take for adoption. If your heart is to foster, that's different, because when you're fostering, you're not really looking to adopt. You're fostering with, um, at least for foster to adopt, this is the way I describe it. Foster to adopt is when you're like, I'm willing to be a foster parent. If the child goes home, I'm okay with that. I'll support reunification. But if their parents' rights are terminated, then I'm okay with adoption. Right. So you're not going into it like, I want to adopt. You're going into it as, I want to be helpful. I want to be a foster family. And if they do need us to adopt, we're open. So the boot camp is not for you, unfortunately, if you're just wanting to foster. But if you have a heart to adopt specifically, that's what the boot camp is for. It's for those of you who want to adopt. Trish says, let's say if I want to adopt from a different state instead of my state. Yep, you can adopt from any states. Any states. You can adopt from foster care from any states in the United States. You don't have to adopt from foster care in your own state. It's one of the things that I teach in my program, Trish. Jordan says, is there more grace given to foster families who are adopting when it comes to traveling with their foster children? What do you mean by more grace for foster families who are adopting? I'm not sure what you mean by that question, Jordan. Please elaborate. Whitney says, I want to adopt. Okay, Whitney, thank you for clarifying. Yes, if you want to adopt from foster care, it's a different process than when you're fostering to adopt. So I made a YouTube video called Fostering versus Foster to Adopt versus Foster Care Adoption. So after I'm done with the live today, go watch that video on my YouTube channel. It's called Fostering versus Foster to Adopt versus Foster Care Adoption. And I break down the difference between those three because people get really confused by that. They get really confused about foster to adopt, adopting from foster care, fostering. So go watch that video. It's going to give you a lot more details. Okay. If you want to adopt from foster care, you don't want to do foster to adopt because those are two different things that you're doing. Okay. So I just explained to you foster to adopt a little bit. Adopting from foster care is when your heart is, I want to give a child who's already waiting in foster care a home. They're already available to adopt and I want to adopt them. That's adopting from foster care. Okay. All right. Man, you guys have some good questions. So many good questions. All right, let me see if there's any other questions coming. Trish, I know you have a lot of questions about the adoption process. I cannot go through all of the steps with you here. There is a YouTube video on my channel, Trish, that you can go watch. I think I actually have a couple. It's called How to Adopt from Foster Care, like 3 steps to adopt from foster care. If you go on my playlists, I have a playlist for fostering and foster care adoption. Okay, Trish, there's a playlist on my YouTube channel and it's foster care or fostering and adapting from foster care. I think that's what it's called. And that playlist is specifically dedicated to everything fostering, foster to adapt, adoption from foster care, and everything in between. So go watch that playlist after the live, and it'll give you an idea of some of the steps you need to take to adapt from foster care. Okay, whether it's in your state or out of state. Jordan says foster families need permission to travel. So if you're adapting, will the social workers be more lenient? No, I mean, it let me put up your question. No, it's not about whether you're adapting or not. You can travel as long as the caseworker okays it. It doesn't matter if you are adopting or not. If you're a foster parent and you want to travel somewhere with your foster child, as long as you get the okay from the caseworker and the guardian ad litem and, these other parties in there, you should be good to go, whether you're planning to adopt them or not. I think they may say no. I mean, if the biological family is still having visitation and the time that you want to go, the biological parents want to be able to have them more for visits or something. I mean, it just kind of depends on the case. But um, yeah, you being able to adapt, or I'm sorry, to travel with your foster kids really just depends on the days that you're leaving or the caseworker, and then you should be fine. Yeah, you're welcome, Trish. You have great questions. Foster care adoption is complicated. So, yeah, go watch that playlist. I think it's going to answer a lot of your questions. All right, guys. I really thought I was going to be on here for 30 minutes. It's been like almost an hour, but I am loving all of your questions so much. Thank you guys for asking all these questions. But yeah, I want you guys to please. Oh, Ethiopia. I want you guys to go sign up for the boot camp because I'd love to see you guys there. And I will see you guys in the next live, which I think I'm going to go live again on Thursday and Friday, maybe. I'll post something so you guys can catch it. So good to see all of you. Thank you for all of your questions. Thank you for jumping on tonight and for hanging out with me. And I'll see you guys in the next live. All right. Bye bye.